Hello and welcome to another video on navigating the Windows environment. Today we're going to take a look at the Settings app, the Settings application in Windows 11. Before we get started, just a quick reminder that we will be using JAWS for Windows as our screen reader today, but please recall that you can use any screen reader for Windows that you're comfortable with, including Narrator or NVDA, or no screen reader at all if you prefer that method. So let's go ahead and get started. There are a couple of different ways to access the Settings application. We've gone through one of them actually already, and that way is to press the Start menu and type the word Settings.
Search box Settings. System. Press right to view options. Settings. Enter. Settings. Search box. Find the setting. Edit. Type in text.
And then I just went ahead and pressed Enter as soon as I typed the word Settings. I'm going to close the Settings application again using Alt F4.
Alt F4.
And we're going to enter it using another process. I'm going to press the Windows key plus the letter I, and that will open my settings in the exact same way.
Windows I. Settings. Search box. Find the setting. Edit. Type in text.
What you might have noticed is that regardless of the way that I opened the Settings application, I wound up in a search box for the Settings application. This allows me another way of searching different settings. I could type the word Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or background or text size, and it would find that setting for me and locate it within this application. I'm not going to do that though. Today, we're just going to talk about navigating the Settings application with a screen reader. The primary way to do this is using the Tab key and the arrow keys. But remember how important it is to listen to our screen reader. It's important to listen to what it tells us because that tells us how to proceed. If I press the Tab key to get out of this search box,
Amy Snow Amy.Snow@K12.Y.S button to activate. Press space bar.
it placed me on a button and it gave my account information for my work account. If I were to press Enter here, it would take me to my account information and the settings associated with that. I don't want to open that area right now, so I'm going to press Tab to go past it.
System. 1 of 11. To move to an item, press the arrow keys.
You'll notice here that we are located on a list, and we know that because it said System 1 of 11, and to navigate, use the arrow keys. There are 11 items, as the screen reader told us. So if I press my down arrow, I'll go to the different settings or the different items in this list that we can open. I'm going to go ahead and do that to show you what's available. The first item, as it noted, was System.
Bluetooth and devices. 2 of 11. Network and Internet. 3 of 11. Personalization. 4 of 11. Apps. 5 of 11. Accounts. 6 of 11. Time and language. 7 of 11. Gaming. 8 of 11. Accessibility. 9 of 11. Privacy and security. 10 of 11. Windows Update. 11 of 11.
And when I get to the end of that list, I can't go any further. I could use the up arrow to go up. Pressing my right and left arrow keys, though, don't get me anywhere. Interestingly, if I try using first letter navigation, that also does not work in the Settings application. So you need to kind of have a reasonable idea of where you're going. Let me go up here to System. I'm going to press the Home key to go to the very top of this list.
Home. System. 1 of 11.
As it happened, the System menu was already open because that is what's open by default when I open the Settings application. To get out of this list, I'm going to press the Tab button.
System button. 1 of 1. To activate, press space bar.
This is the System button, and it's just letting me know the heading I'm in. If I press Tab again,
T311-SFP8-10988. Rename link. To activate, press enter.
that actually is the name of my computer. And if I were to press Enter here, I could rename it something different. I don't want to do that because my work names my computer, so I leave that alone. I'm going to press Tab again.
Windows Update last checked 5 hours ago button. To activate, press space bar.
And I could check for updates if I wanted. That's another button. Again, we don't press our arrow keys because it's a button, not a list. However, if I press tab again,
List box. Display. 1 of 19. To move to an item, press the arrow keys.
I'm in a list in the system menu, and there are, as it noted, 19 different items. So if you kind of use your imagination and your mathematical ability here, we know that there are 11 areas to the settings application. And one of those, which is system, has 19 sort of sub areas. That kind of lets us know how many different settings there are in this settings application. So it makes sense now why there is a search feature in the settings application. It's actually very easy to get to that settings search area because honestly, this is a great way to find a setting if you're not exactly sure where it is and don't feel like going through all of those 11 areas and however many sub areas there are of this settings application to find what you're looking for. We'll look at using the search feature of the settings application in another video. Right now, let's continue to look through what options we have available in our system area of our settings application and kind of go into one of those areas and see what that sounds like. So let's use the down arrow.
Sound. 2 of 19. Notifications. 3 of 19. Focus. 4 of 19. Power and battery. 5 of 19.
So that's just kind of how those sound. If I wanted to, I could press the home key to go to the top of the list.
Home. Display. 1 of 19.
And I'm actually going to use my down arrow to find sound.
Sound. 2 of 19.
And I'm going to press enter to open that.
Enter. Sound. Output. Choose where to play sound. Echo cancelling speakerphone selected. Apps might have their own settings. Show more settings button expanded. To activate, press spacebar.
So I'm on my settings area for sound. I can press my tab key to go through these.
List box. Echo cancelling speakerphone. Echo cancelling speakerphone button 1 of 2. To activate, press spacebar. Echo cancelling speakerphone radio button checked. Pair a new output device. Add device button to activate, press spacebar. Volume. Mute volume button to activate, press spacebar.
This is yet another place that we can adjust our volume. So I'm going to, again, use my tab key.
Adjust the output volume left-right slider 34%. To increase or decrease, use the arrow keys.
This tells us again, arrow keys to decrease and increase the volume. And if we move past it, we can press tab.
Mono audio button off. To activate, press spacebar. Input. Choose a device for speaking or recording. Microphone array selected. Apps might have their own settings. Show more settings button expanded. To activate, press spacebar.
So this is a show more settings area and it tells me it's expanded and it's about my input devices. I could continue to tab my way through this, but I really don't want to. If I want to go back to a previous settings area, suppose I got in here by accident, or I don't want to be in here anymore without making adjustments, or I've made my adjustments, and I press the Alt and the left arrow together. So hold down my Alt, press left arrow.
Alt left arrow. System T311-SF-P8-10988. Rename.
I'm going to press my control to make my screen reader be quiet. So I went back one screen. One way to do this also, sometimes pressing the backspace will work, but other times it will only just change your focus to the list box of different menu items and allow you to do it that way. This, to me, I've found using the Alt left arrow is a more consistent choice. So I recommend to people, if you kind of want to go back a screen, use that Alt plus the left arrow to move back. And that is also a very common Windows command and useful, very much so in browsers. If you are lost in the Settings app, another very useful trick is to go right back to that search field, because if you'll recall, that is the first place we found ourselves when we opened the Settings application. So I'm going to press Control E to go to that search field.
Control E, search box, find the setting, edit, type in text.
This is where I would type my text to find a specific setting. But again, if I just want to get to that list box or to explore settings, I'm going to press my tab.
Back button to activate, press space bar.
Now, this back button, you might recall, was not here before, and that's because when I initially opened my settings application, I didn't have anywhere to go back to because I just opened it. I wanted to point out that this back button is here, and it's another way of going back besides doing your Alt left arrow. It's just another choice to go back one screen.
Amy Snow, Amy.Snow@y.k12.y.us button to activate, press space bar.
There's my account settings.
System 1 of 11. To move to an item, press the arrow keys.
And another tab took me to that list of the different items in my settings application with a focus on the first item, which is system. I hope this has given you a good idea of what options and items are available in the settings application and some good tips for navigating it with a screen reader or with Windows commands. Thank you so much and have a great day.